Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm back with another video. It's kind of late, but I have two great guys with me from the Unwrapped Sports Network. I got Garrett and I've got Matt, and we're talking about this James Harden trade and the particulars and how they feel about it. It made my head hurt on Twitter trying to read the pics. Shams and Woes, you do a great job. I don't know how you guys do it, but you do a great job of getting this information out to us. Your thumbs have to be tired by now. I just don't get it. Before I dive into everything, we're gonna pay some bills first. Teespring.com/store/unwrapped. I have ladies first gear on there. XFL, you have gear on there, don't you, as well?
Yeah, we got a t-shirt and a sticker, so show some love, please.
Okay. Matt, you're getting gear on Unwrapped?
Yeah, I actually have a shirt. I got an Unwrapped Sports Network shirt.
Okay. So get your gear, guys. I'll be wearing my stuff on my show as soon as I order it. And then we're just going to be representing Unwrapped Sports. So go get your gear at teespring.com/store/unwrapped. Every show has their own specific gear. Also, if you like to gamble, mybookie.ag, use the code USN100, double your first deposit up to $1,000, if I'm correct. You can win you some good money for the year. Spend it on whatever you like. Corey and Alex do a great job on Saturday. And we also have unwrapped these bands as well. Also, sore achy muscles. It is cold outside. rxhemp.com. Use the code rxhemp/USN to get 10% off of your order. It is CBD cream. For all you people out there that are older than you think you are, when you go outside and your muscles just lock up because it's so cold outside, get you some cream. Get 10% off your order with that code.
I just got me some of that stuff. It's awesome. I'm loving it.
See, Garrett's loving it. Oh boy, guys. Oh goodness. Introduce yourselves first, and then we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna dive into it. So, Gary, you start first. Introduce yourself and plug in everything that you got going on. And then, Matt, I'll pass it to you.
I am Garrett from Iowa. You can find me on Twitter, Sportscaster, and TikTok under the handle. I am co-host of the People's XFL show on the Unwrapped Network, and we just got done recording a fire episode that is going to. I got it published. I'm just waiting for it to get through the approval, so that's going to be dropping later tonight. Be sure to check that out. I don't usually plug myself this hard, but it was a great episode with an interview with a young man by the name of Tank Courtney Sr. So
definitely good stuff. My Twitter is down below at Matt_Skura. You can check out my Instagram at Matt_Skura19. And you can check out a podcast that me and my great friend Caleb Condit do. It is called MCS Real Sports Podcast. We talk all things NBA and NFL related. We're available pretty much everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're available there. Make sure you guys check us out there and, listen to some of the episodes that we've uploaded.
All right. I am your host, Amber Vickers. Simply me_AV is my Twitter handle. I have a lot of plugins. So,
sorry,
guys,
I'm laughing at the comments, not your plugins, although that is funny as well.
Oh, I see Alex's comment. So I have a lot of plugins, guys. You just go to my Twitter, go to my bio. It's a lot of stuff there. I have a lot. So, it's a lot to plug in. So, guys, just go check me out on all of my network things. All right, guys, let's get into it. Harden, oh Harden. Man, I really want to get you guys' first initial reaction when you saw it. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it for the comment. First initial reaction. First word that comes to mind when you saw the trade.
Holy shit.
Okay.
I mean, I knew Harden wanted out, and then it seemed like he was back in. One of the interesting things that I saw, and I'm not a huge NBA guy, so you're going to get some shallow observations from me, not deep ones. But Harden in his first, I think 3 games was averaging almost 40 a game, and in his last 3 was averaging less than 20. It's almost like he was back in and back out again. And press conference conversation he had after the last game he played, it just really seemed like Houston needed to get him out of there for his sake and their own.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, 4 teams, 8 picks involved, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players moved. 8 players, 8 picks, and 4 teams. This was a mega deal, and yeah, it was something else.
It was definitely a mega deal. The one kind of couple words that come to my mind was not surprised. I mean, you kind of heard in James Harden, that press conference that he had where he basically said it was not fixable. That kind of sent the message of he's basically gonna be out. It was a matter of if, it was going to be when. Because like Eric mentioned earlier in the season, it looked like, he was just going to suck it through until maybe the trade deadline, averaging 40-plus points per game, first 3 games. Then the last couple of games, been scoring under 20 points. This was kind of a trade that, even most basketball heads knew before was kind of going to be like, kind of when was Harden going to be traded? I kind of thought James Harden would kind of toughen it out until the trade deadline, and then Houston would kind of trade him at the trade deadline. But, this is kind of the same situation with any star players. If they want out, you get them out. This kind of reminds me of what Anthony Davis did with the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, not to this extent, to where basically throwing the team under the bus, doing all that. Anthony Davis was kind of like, yo, I want out in New Orleans, make it happen. And, eventually it did happen. It happened more in the offseason, and shout out AD for bringing the Lakers a chip. But this was one of those, where it was different. It was one where Harden wanted no part of Houston whatsoever. Even though Houston traded for John Wall, got DeMarcus Cousins, got Christian Wood in the offseason, this was one where it's like, look, I understand you got me these players, but I do not want to be here. I want out. And this is kind of also what reminds me of what Deshaun Watson is basically saying with the Houston Texans. It's like, if I want out, get me out. And, he got his wish. And, I will say the Rockets got a haul for James Harden. You're talking the 4-team trades, 8 picks, 8 players, and you look at what the Rockets got in return just for one player. You got a guy in Victor Oladipo who was an all-star. Granted, he's on an expiring contract deal now, but if he plays good with John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, that Houston team could be a sleeper playoff team. And then on top of that, you add Dante Exum. You also add Rodion Kurucs with 3 first-round picks, a Milwaukee first-round pick, and then 4 first-round swaps. If you're Houston, trading a superstar like James Harden, you got the kind of haul that you want. So overall, I thought it was a great trade for Houston. Kind of good for both parties. Houston got a haul, and James Harden got his wish to be with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn.
When I saw it, I said, I knew it was coming. Like, you just knew after that post-game press conference, it was coming. Like, you just saw it building up. He didn't want to be there in the first place. I didn't think he was going to play a game for Houston. Personally, I kept saying, I don't think he's going to play. There's nothing like having a disgruntled superstar. Westbrook requested a trade, got out of there quick, send him for John Wall, get a first rounder. Then Harden comes out and says he didn't say he wanted to be traded, and then all of a sudden he wanted to be traded. I got confused about the whole Harden wanting to be traded, not wanting to be traded thing. It confused the heck out of me. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't want to be there at all. James Harden will be so motivated to be out of Houston, he will have a 6-pack by the playoffs. Alex, before I finish my thought, Alex, I saw something on Twitter where a guy hopped out of a fat suit and he said, "This is James Harden in Brooklyn." I thought it was hilarious. But anyway, I really wasn't shocked nor surprised. I didn't think he was going to play. And I didn't think he was going to make it to the middle of the season. He made it, 10 games? Would he make it 10 games? Probably. Yeah, 10 games.
I'd say
it
about
wasn't-
10 games.
I think the split on the stats I saw was his first 5 versus last 5. So
Okay. Because last night he just looked like he didn't care. I mean, he didn't care against the Lakers, and it was so evident he was ready to go. Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins, and John Wall are not bad people to play with. And so I also read that DeMarcus Cousins said the disrespect started before they even stepped on the court. So this has been brewing. This has been brewing. And I really love what the Rockets have done. They gave OKC all their picks to get Russell Westbrook. That didn't work out. They sent him to Washington. They get a Washington first rounder. And then you send James Harden to the Nets. Then you get other teams involved. You get the Cavaliers involved and Indiana involved. And the Nets send a rising star in Karis LeVert to Indiana to replace Oladipo. Oladipo said he really don't want to be there. He kind of wants to be there. I don't know what Oladipo wants at this point. Alex seems to think his next album is going to be fire. We shall see. In Houston, you can make great music in Houston, Alex. A lot of great producers out there in Houston. So in No State Tax, in numerous strip clubs. But I don't know if Oladipo's about that life. But he can make great music in Houston. But Oladipo gets to go to Houston. He's on an expiring contract. Will he resign? Will he not resign? We don't know. Jared Allen goes to Cleveland. Cleveland has more big men than they can handle. So we'll see what they'll be doing there in Cleveland. And then the Nets give up 4 first rounders and 4 swaps. That's a lot. But they didn't want to give up Kyrie. So if you don't want to give up Kyrie, Kevin Durant was off the table. You had to give that up. Right? You would have to give that up. So Alex said his last album was good. He recommends it. Alex, you listen to everything. I trust your musical judgment. But you have to give that up, right? Like you have to give up that much to get him. Or did the Nets get robbed blind by Houston? What are you guys' thoughts?
I'll start off first by saying I feel like if you were Brooklyn to get James Harden without giving up Kyrie, you had to give up those 4 swaps.
Okay.
I mean, this is a trade to where this is going to be a hit for Brooklyn, or it's going to be one of the biggest misses we've seen since the Billy King trade when they got KG and Paul Pierce and Jason Terry on their last legs. Like this trade, this is a trade to where the Brooklyn Nets have to win a title in the next 2 years for this trade to be successful. They have to at least be in the title conversation now. Because you got Kyrie Irving whenever he comes back, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. 2 players out of 1 MVP, and almost every single player on that roster besides James Harden has won a championship. They have championship experience. This is a move to where Brooklyn makes it to where they could possibly be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference with this kind of move. So how I look at it is, James Harden, he got his wish. He got out of Houston. Now it's simply, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, when are you going to verse the Lakers in the finals? When are we going to get KD versus LeBron part 3? That's what it has to be. That has to be the Brooklyn Nets mindset. Because it's one of those where you don't have the draft picks now to, help fill up your roster. Now it's kind of one of those where you got to get a bunch of guys that, are willing to sign the minimum and that are willing to sign the minimum deal to help compete with Brooklyn. So this is one of those to where, if you're Brooklyn, I'll say it again, you got to win a championship in the next 2 years. Because if you don't, then this trade is a disaster and you're basically back to square one, back to rebuild mode. Because you look at KD and Kyrie are going to be free agents in 2 years. You got James Harden on the team. So you pretty much got these 2 years, this year and next year, to hopefully win a championship. And if you do, that's fantastic for New York and for Brooklyn because, you finally get to bring a championship and you can maybe elevate out of the Knicks allure. Even though the Knicks stink, they're pretty much the class of New York. If Brooklyn wins a championship, they could help elevate themselves in inside of New York itself saying, hey, we got a championship. What have the Knicks done for you the last 20 years? Nothing. But you also look at on the flip side of things, I also think the Pacers got a good haul as well. I mean, you look at the Pacers, Victor Oladipo didn't want to be in Indiana. He wasn't going to re-sign with the Indiana Pacers, especially with all like the recent rumors and stuff before the season. There were reports of him maybe going to Miami in the offseason. What that trade meant was Oladipo did not want to be there. I'm glad they were able to get Karis LeVert and a second-round pick. I think Karis LeVert is going to be huge on the Indiana Pacers, especially him with Domantas Sabonis, with how good Sabonis is doing this season. I feel like Karis LeVert is going to fit right in, and I think Indiana is going to be in a perfect situation as well. And Amber, you mentioned the Cavs getting Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince. I don't know why they put their names in the hat. I don't know why they got Jarrett Allen, especially when you already have Drummond and JaVale McGee. I mean, it's going to be one of those where, you know, are you going to have one of those guys play more power forward or what? Because now you got three big men. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But the main teams pretty much involved, in my opinion, were the Rockets, Nets, and the Pacers. Those were the three teams where it's like, yeah, they got a haul. They got something. And then there's the Cavs, and you just look and you're like, oh, okay, Jarrett Allen, Taurean Prince. You basically got a center when you already had two, and Taurean Prince. Okay, you know, good for you. You're involved in a trade, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is going to be a trade. This is the biggest trade of the season, and this is gonna make or break a lot of teams. You know, this trade is going to make or break the Brooklyn Nets, because I'll tell you right now, if the Brooklyn Nets don't make it to the NBA Finals, then this trade is a failure. This is going to be a disastrous trade if they don't make it to the NBA Finals. They have to at least make it there, even if they lose to a team in the Western Conference, like maybe the Lakers or maybe some other team in the Western Conference. You know, that could be a season where you're like, okay, even though we didn't get there, even though we didn't win it all, at least we got there. And then you look at the Pacers side of things, and you're like, okay, we got Oladipo out of there. Now let's see what we can do with Karis LeVert and Domantas Sabonis. Can we maybe make a run in the playoffs, maybe win a playoff series, maybe push the second round to 6 or 7 games? And then the ultimate team of all is Houston. Now, if you're Houston, you got Oladipo in there, you got John Wall, Christian Wood's been good, and you got maybe a motivated DeMarcus Cousins. Maybe what DeMarcus Cousins said to James Harden, maybe that could be a spark plug in him. Is this maybe a possible chance we see Houston make a push for the playoffs? Even though they're right now one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, it's early in the season. If Houston could get it clicking, maybe they could be one of those teams to where, like, maybe they could be like the Dallas Mavericks that we saw last year, one of those 7th seeds, but push one of those higher seeds to like 6 games. You know, maybe that could be where Houston is. You know, we'll definitely have to see it. And then, you know, if you're the Cavs, okay, you got Jarrett Allen, Taurean Prince. Great. Let's see how you could suit them up. But this is going to be a trade that will decide a lot of things, you know, this upcoming season, whether Brooklyn made the right decision, going all in, whether the Pacers made a good choice on giving up Oladipo, and, you know, seeing what the Cavs are going to do. You know, this is going to be an exciting trade. I can't wait to see how it'll shape out this NBA season.
I've been trying to find a line to see whether or not the Brooklyn Nets have moved at all for winning the NBA this year, and I haven't been able to find one, because I think that'd be an interesting thing to throw some money on.
We could ask Alex that. Alex, what's the line? You know, he's a betting guy.
Yeah.
Alex, have you seen any lines about the Brooklyn Nets finals championship odds? And then I taught Harden the Euro step per Woj. Thank you, Alex. See, I knew you were dropping Woj bombs in here tonight, Alex. I knew it. But yeah, go ahead, Garrett. I want to see if Alex knows.
I think that's the interesting thing for me. If you can get some easy money on the Nets, possibly get some good odds there before the line moves too much. I almost think Houston might be a sneaker too. See where the lines are at for them to be a playoff team after this slow start, because I think Harden was definitely not helping Houston at all. I was really surprised by the haul they got. I mean, I understand that's James Harden. He's a superstar and yada, 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 but it was not a seller's market. Oh, you dropped 300 points on that already. Holy cow. Tell you what, if you had insider, if you could have hopped on there at 570, I probably would have thrown some money at it just for fun. But it really surprised me because it was not a seller's market. I mean, they were in a position where they had to move him, and to still get a haul like this is just impressive to me from the Houston front office. Because what's Brooklyn? You tell Brooklyn you want all these guys, and yeah, Lakers. Okay.
I knew it was going to be some Lakers chatting here. I just knew it, Alex. Thank you.
I don't bet bandwagon teams. I also don't bet on LeBron ever. But I mean, like Houston says, we need 8 picks and 3 players, and Brooklyn says no. Houston's staying at home, going out on the court every day, with Harden staying at home watching him on TV. It's not like he was, it definitely, because shortly before the trade was announced, they said that they had decided that it was best for Harden and the Rockets organization if Harden just didn't report to practice. So, I mean, if he's not practicing, he's not going to play. So, I think really good move by Houston. I was impressed by the front office to get this haul for a guy that obviously was basically no value to them.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Oladipo does after this season on an expiring contract. That's what I'm most interested in. And Garrett, Lakers Mafia is coming for you.
I ain't scared.
Garrett said he ain't scared. He's from Iowa. Okay, he's not scared. He's good to go. I was very shocked to see Oladipo move. Like, I knew the trade wasn't done. I knew they were going to get other teams involved. And I'm just waiting on Twitter, refreshing Twitter. It won't load because Woj bombs and Shams bombs are coming in like crazy. You know what I mean? And I saw Victor Oladipo. I said, what? To Houston? I said, okay, so who's going to Indiana? And then Karis LeVert. You're like, oh, okay, well, we got Karis LeVert out the deal. And honestly, this season, Karis LeVert's played better than Victor Oladipo. So that's interesting to pair him with Sabonis. Holiday brothers. You got Miles Turner there. So that's interesting when TJ Warren comes back. Hopefully he comes back this season. That'll be very interesting there in Indiana. Some good young pieces there in Indiana. But Houston, I like Houston, Matt. And I had Houston this season. I was going back and forth. I was like, if Harden plays, they're 6, 7, 8 seed, maybe a play-in seed. If Harden doesn't play, I wasn't quite sure. But without Harden, you're looking at John Wall, and Boogie Cousins might find some motivation. You got Christian Wood, who's playing very well this season. He's going to be in there running for most improved player. Stephen Silas is probably like, is this the life of an NBA coach? Like, take me back to being an assistant, please. Because, I mean, he's probably grown gray hair overnight. I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy life to be an NBA coach, especially with COVID going on and cancellations and all things like that. But if Stephen Silas can get this group of guys to buy in, they could be a good team. You got 4 guys in your team that can score 20 points. I mean, that's the reality of the situation in Houston. Now, getting them to gel and the click is going to be another thing. But I think, you just toss Oladipo in. He'll be fine. Christian Wood's going to continue to do his thing. Him and James Harden were actually getting some chemistry there. They were actually playing very well together. But you just knew Harden was out of there. I mean, you just knew. Oh, thank you, Perry. We appreciate it. Harden sucks as a person. He said as a person. Well, in Brooklyn, I don't know how many strip clubs are in New York, but I'm pretty sure he'll have some fun there in New York.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Amber, real quick. This came up. You mentioned this earlier, and we talked more. I forgot, but how are the chicken wings at the strip clubs in Houston?
I said that on another. See, you pay attention. You pay attention when I talk, Garrett. I don't know, but I've heard they were pretty good. From what I've been told. I've been told that they were pretty good. The mild were pretty good. The lemon pepper were pretty good. It depends on if you like all drums, all flats. The ranch is a nice, good flavor in Houston. There's no state tax. I've been told all these things. I don't know personally. I'm just saying this is what a little birdie told me. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I also got to add. I feel like the Houston Strip Club's got to retire James Harden number because all the contributions that he has made to the strip club community. I mean, everywhere you go, you got to see the 1-3 up in the rafters. Whenever James Harden makes his return to Houston, if they allow fans, the only people you hear a standing ovation is the managers of the strip club, just like we thank you, James Harden, much appreciation. New York definitely got a gift, to James Harden both on and off the court.
You know what? His restaurant is supposed to open on January 22nd in Houston. I saw that on Twitter. And I was like, wow. So how is that going to work? Because I know when KD left Oklahoma City, they shut down his restaurant. So, yeah. How's that going to work? What kind of great?
Well, I feel like if Harden would have ended on a higher note, I think the city of Houston might be willing to, because you look at James Harden in Houston, he basically his career in Houston took off, and he brought Houston kind of back to a playoff contender. Because a lot of people forget, when Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming left, Houston was in a dark patch. They were not good. For 3 to 4 years, and then some guy named James Harden comes in, and his career elevates, and the Houston Rockets are a consistent playoff team. So, it's one of those where if he would have ended on that note, even if he would have finished the season with the team and leave, I think the city of Houston will be like, you know what, James, we thank you for your contribution, all you've done for this franchise. You've been one of the Rockets franchise greats. Even if you open your restaurant when you leave, we're going to come and support it. But I think the way how he left, it's going to be a sour note. It's going to be one of those where it's like, yeah, no, we're not going to go to your restaurant anytime soon. Maybe after you retire and maybe we retire your number, we'll give it consideration. But for right now, you're on Houston's watch warrant.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about, is the impact he's had on that city of Houston. He's been there for 8 years. He came in the way he went. Well, I don't want to say that he came in the way he went out, because he came in on a surprise. Nobody knew he was getting traded to Houston. Over $4 million. It's okay, Sam Presti and Clay Bennett, I have forgiven you. But he came in on a surprise. It was like, surprise, James Harden's been traded to Houston. And then he becomes disgruntled. And it's like, okay, James Harden, he basically gave the Rockets 24 hours. You have a 24-hour window to trade me. And then when the reports came out that he will not be at practice today, he won't be around the team, I already knew. He's looking for a nice little brownstone in Brooklyn already. You know what I mean? So I kind of figured that, and I kind of ran with it. I know Philly didn't want to give up Ben Simmons with the way they've been playing this year. Joel Embiid's playing at an MVP type level. He and Ben Simmons seem to be working well together. They got shooters around them now. Doc Rivers has inserted a certain kind of culture in Philadelphia, and I think he did not want to give up Ben Simmons, and Daryl Morey didn't want to give up Ben Simmons. He's already been fined once, so that's neither here nor there. But that's why I don't think Philly was able to make the trade, because they did not want to give up Ben Simmons. Because that whole trade was centered around Ben Simmons from Philly to Houston. And if they did give up Ben Simmons, they would still have to give another team involved. So I think the Nets gave Houston what they wanted, and I think Houston got what they wanted. I think Houston got their future back. Thank goodness the Nets gave their future away. Now, can the Nets get their future back like Houston gave it away and got it back? Can that happen, guys? You think that can be plausible? You give away your future, you can get it back in a couple of years. That's going to be tough. That's going to be really, really tough. So we'll see. I didn't want to see Karis LeVert go. Oh, I love watching him play. But I don't know, guys. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
How do you think LeVert's going to do in Indiana?
I'll start off first. I think Karis LeVert's going to do good in Indiana. I feel like he's going to do what Oladipo has done. I mean, before Oladipo's injury, Indiana was one of the good teams in the Eastern Conference. I feel like Karis LeVert is going to be that. I mean, you look at what they already have with Brogdon. You got LeVert and Sabonis. With those three, I think the Indiana Pacers are going to be a dark horse team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they could be one of those teams. This Indiana Pacers team kind of reminds me of what the Miami Heat were last year. Kind of a team where they're like kind of sleeper, 4th or 5th seed kind of team. Maybe wins a playoff series, but should fall short in the second round. But they shocked the world and made it all the way to the NBA Finals. This is the kind of team with the Indiana Pacers to where they look at it and say, if we can click, we could be one of those dark horse teams that could maybe make a run, maybe win a playoff series, maybe push a team in the second round, 6 or 7 games, and kind of see what happens. That's what I feel like Karis LeVert is going to be on the Pacers. Kind of add an element of kind of like that dark horse that nobody expects coming, but when they strike, man, they're going to strike and possibly pull off an upset.
Go ahead, Garrett.
No, that's on you. I'm just asking questions now.
Oh, okay. I love Karis LeVert. Loved him in Michigan. A shout out to Michigan. They blew out Wisconsin last night. But I love what Karis LeVert has to offer. He can get his own shot, get his own bucket. I think he worked well with the Holiday brothers. Hopefully, you got Malcolm Brogdon there. I know that Alex likes Brogdon and LeVert together. He put $1 bag on LeVert and Brogdon. There it is. Yes. So he likes those two players together. And then you got Sabonis. Sabonis is playing at an all-star level, playing great this season. TJ Warren was very hot in the bubble. And I want to see that momentum carry over to the regular season, but he got hurt. I don't know when he's coming back. That team could quietly make some noise in the East. Now, I know that losing Oladipo is going to hurt them at first, but I think once Karis LeVert gets that chemistry back, then you'll start to see that team gel together. Now, there are only 72 games this season, so that plays a factor. You got 10 less games. We don't know what the second half of the season is going to look like because they haven't come out with the schedule because COVID. That's all I have to say about that, because COVID. So you could see that Indiana team probably get that 5-6 spot, maybe. Toronto's not playing well right now. Atlanta's kind of drifting off. That's Perry's 4 to 6 pick. So you could see that. You could see Indiana sneak in there. All right, let's see what Alex said. Yes, we love guards who can contribute in different facets of the game. I do. I agree with you. The Pacers are going to miss Oladipo on karaoke night. Oh, goodness, Alex. I don't think the Nets made a great trade. They have 3 stars who gets the ball. Kevin Durant doesn't need the ball. He's so efficient. It's going to come down to Kyrie and James Harden, honestly. It's going to come down to Kyrie and James Harden because Kevin Durant can get his shot whenever. He doesn't really necessarily need the ball to be effective. He's so efficient. I mean, he put on a clinic tonight against New York. Julius Randle just looked defeated. I mean, he was walking back and he was just kind of like, like Emmanuel quickly said, it was like playing in a video game. Like, this is him in real life. It's not a video game. It's not 2K and 8K. But it felt like a video game to him watching Kevin Durant play in person and playing against him in person. So with that being said, guys, 3 stars, who gets the ball? Do you think Kyrie and James Harden can play together?
I think so. I think they'll make it work. I think Steve Nash and company, the head coach of Brooklyn, I think they're going to say, look, you better make this work. We got the big 3 here. We're trying to win a championship. Set your differences aside. Go in this season. Go full aggressive. But one thing I'm definitely looking forward to, that step back James Harden 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, 3. And definitely gonna look forward to see that. And it's kind of one of those, like, when those 3 players are on the court, it's kind of one of those, you can't double one because then one's gonna be open. I mean, it's one of those where it's kind of like pick your poison. Like it's one of those where, in my humble opinion, I feel like the final person that should get the ball is definitely Kevin Durant. Out of between those three players, it's definitely gonna. If I were to have to rank them, it would be Kevin Durant, it would be James Harden, then Kyrie Irving. I feel like Kyrie Irving right now is at the bottom of the totem pole, especially with like what he's been doing as of lately. I think maybe if he comes back and starts playing well, I think maybe he could elevate up there. But final seconds, if I have to choose between one, it's definitely going to be Kevin Durant. But I feel like after this trade, to answer your question, Amber, you have to make it work. You can't have one of those players come off the bench. They're going to be in your starting five, and it's simply one of those. Look, maybe how you can make it work is have Kyrie Irving dominate the first quarter, have James Harden dominate the second quarter, third quarter is a random, and have KD close out the fourth. And voila, you could get 3-year stars, get 20-point quarters, have Kyrie drop 20 in the first, have Harden drop 20 in the second, have it split around to the third, and then have KD go crazy in the fourth, and voila, there you go. That's how you make it work.
Well, Alex thinks the Nets are using performance-enhancing sage. Silver refused to comment per Woj. Oh, goodness, Alex. The way I've heard Kyrie talk about Nash, he's not staying long. The Kyrie situation is interesting to me because I have my thoughts on Kyrie, and it's probably completely opposite of what everybody else thinks. I know it is. I think he's finding his purpose outside of basketball, A. This COVID thing, B. C, he said he wouldn't play in the bubble. So I think Kyrie, if this was a normal season, I think Kyrie would be all in. I really honestly do. I think it's something that's holding Kyrie back. And I don't think we will ever know. I think it's a personal issue, and he doesn't have to tell us anything. But if this was a normal season, Kyrie would be all in. If you guys don't think that Kyrie knew Harden was coming to Brooklyn, then you're crazy. Because I remember LeBron saying, if you guys don't think I'm not involved in who comes to Cleveland, you're crazy. That's exactly what it is. If you don't think that Kevin Durant and Kyrie and Harden have all talked about them playing together in Brooklyn, you're crazy. After Harden requested a trade, why would he just stick Brooklyn on his list or Philly on his list? These players talk to each other. It's a brotherhood. They call it a brotherhood for a reason. They speak to one another. Harden wanted to come to the Nets. Like the Nets and Philly were his two main destinations, right? The relationship he has with Daryl Morey, and then the relationship he has with D'Antoni and Kevin Durant and Jeff Green, by the way, as well. So if you don't think that these players have talked about this, then you're crazy. If you're just like, oh, it came out the blue, like Kyrie's like, wow, we got Harden. No, he was like, okay, my boy Harden's coming. Now I know for real now. I heard that Kawhi just sent Serge Ibaka a text, was like, are you coming or no? Like, that's how he got to the Clippers. Like, as the most Kawhi thing he could have did, I heard he just sent Ibaka a text, are you coming or no?
I think it would have been legendary, and it said, "What it do, baby?
Yeah,
come to LA."
Well, and I just want to weigh in real quick on the one about the way I have heard Kyrie talk about Nash lately. I don't think he's sane. I kind of feel I need to clarify something here. Ain't nobody heard Kyrie talk about shit lately.
Exactly.
This is unconfirmed reports coming out from people with quote unquote sources. I have my own issues with articles like that dating back to when the Big Ten was in flux earlier this year. And when they hired Steve Nash, every single report coming out was that that was who Kyrie and Kevin Durant wanted for their coach. So I don't know where this report's coming from, and it's certainly not Kyrie going to the press and saying he hates Nash. Mm-hmm. It's all unconfirmed stuff, and I personally don't really trust it right now due to the reports that were out earlier. Seems kind of like a clickbait opportunity. Drop a headline with unconfirmed sources, get your clicks, get your clout.
Yeah, I think that too. Nobody knows what Kyrie's thinking, because Steve Nash doesn't want to say too much. Kevin Durant doesn't want to say too much. And the organization doesn't want to say too much. And I think that's why I think it's something personal, because whatever's going on in his personal life, he should be the one to broadcast that, not you. because it's dealing with him. So I think that probably has something to do with it. Now, Alex says Kyrie and Nash differ upon what sage to use pregame. Oh, goodness, Alex. Durant has tried to help reconcile them per Woj.
I'm confused about
Nash pressure.
are they like arguing over Acapulco Gold versus Mexican Red, or
Oh, goodness.
They're probably arguing about a different location to use it. Like when Kyrie Irving used it in Boston, it was on like the side of the court. Maybe Nash told him, hey, maybe if you do a center court, maybe that could better it up.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I appreciate him not talking, because when Kyrie speaks, it seems like the media just kind of twisted up. Like Kyrie says, "Oh, I'm going to the moon," and then the media turn it into something else. So Kyrie's not talking for a reason. I get that. Whatever he chooses to do is what he chooses to do. But I do think that he wants to play with this team with Harden and Kevin Durant. And I do think he wants to play for Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. I do think that. I just think he's battling with some personal things right now. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't really think anybody knows what's going on with Kyrie, and yeah, I touched on it earlier. I don't trust the report that he hates Nash.
oh yeah, I don't either. I like how Jared Allen defended Kyrie in his interview. The camaraderie. Oh goodness, Amber, speak is there. I agree. And Kevin Durant kept his interview short and sweet with Cassidy Hubbard. I mean, I was like, Kevin, and she asked him the questions that she knew he wasn't going to answer, but she asked them anyway. I don't understand why they do that. Like, I would not ask him about James Harden. I wouldn't ask him about Kyrie Irving. He's not going to tell you anything. He's not going to dry snitch on his brother, right? Like,
hey, you know what they say, snitches get stitches.
You know what I mean? He's not going to be like, well, you know, me and Kyrie was texting the other night, and he was like, yo, like, he's not going to do that. Come on, Cassidy Hubbard. Cassidy Hubbard knows better. But they have to ask, but he's not going to answer. He's going to give you the same dry answer that he gave you after the game. So, you know, it is what it is with reporters. I guess they have to do their jobs. So.
Yeah, I think that's a rough spot for reporters to be in, because you're right, they have to ask the question. I'm pretty sure that she knew damn well what the answer was going to be before she asked the question, but
yes,
she's got a boss to answer to, and she's got people watching her. And if you don't, I mean, it was like watching the Bears press conference today. Quick little left turn here, but it was the same thing. Reporters kept asking questions that I could have gave you the answer to, because the Bears weren't saying shit about shit. And everybody knew that, but you still had to, you know, when you're there in the press conference, even if you know what they're going to tell you, you know, what's your plan for quarterback in the future? Well, we're looking at all the options, and we're probably either going to draft one, acquire one in free agency, or stick with our current quarterback. Like, I mean, you knew that's what they were going to say, but you have to ask anyway. So I think reporters get a little bit of a rough rap for asking dumb questions sometimes, because it's like, yeah, I understand it's a dumb question, but you know, if they don't ask it, their bosses, when they go back to the office, their boss is going to want to know why they didn't ask it, because it's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah. And Kevin Durant was, I've never seen him like, well, I've seen him like that a couple of times, but he just was short with his answers. And he gave a long answer to the last question that she asked, but that's what it's going to be like. He can't talk about the James Harden trade because it's not finalized. So he can't really go into detail about it. All he had to say was, when somebody asked him, how was it playing with James Harden in OKC? It was fun. That was his answer. Okay, so this is the last question of the night, fellas. What is most likely? The Nets going to the finals or Houston winning a playoff series?
Between those two, I'm going to have to say the Nets making the NBA Finals.
Okay.
Just because of the fact I don't see Houston finishing in the top 5. If Houston finishes 1 through 5, I'd say they can win a playoff series. But if they're in the 6 to 8 range, they're not going to beat the top teams in the Western Conference. They're not going to beat the Lakers. They're not going to beat the Clippers. And they're not going to beat the teams in the top 3. But in Brooklyn, you look at that, the trade that they made, that probably propels them to one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And pretty much the only teams you'll probably have to go through in the East is probably going to be Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia. Like only 3 teams. If Brooklyn can get if Brooklyn is a top 3 seed, they're going to the NBA Finals. That's a fact because they're beating whoever they play in the first round. If they got to play either Philadelphia or Boston, I think they could beat them. And if they make it to the conference finals and they got to play against the Milwaukee Bucks,
they beat them.
I think they beat the Bucks because if you look at the Bucks, what's changed? I mean, Giannis is still going to be Giannis, but all you pretty much have to do is make sure he doesn't drive into the paint, and you pretty much lock him up. I mean, you still got Chris Middleton. Is he going to perform? Or what's Chris Middleton going to do? I mean, yeah, you added Drew Holiday, but, I mean, what kind of Drew Holiday are we going to get? You know, I feel like it's a better chance seeing Brooklyn in the NBA Finals than seeing the Houston Rockets win a playoff series, just because the path is easier in the Eastern Conference for Brooklyn than it is for Houston in the Western Conference. Now, if Houston didn't have such a poor start, I'd give them a better chance. Like maybe instead of them being 3-6, if maybe they were 5-4 or 4-5, I'd say they could maybe win a playoff series. But because they're in such a low spot, I just don't think they can win a series, so I'm going with Brooklyn to the finals.
Okay, Garrett, what you think?
Made me laugh when you said all you got to do is stop Giannis from driving into the paint. I mean, that's like saying all you have to do is to beat the Titans is stop Derrick Henry. I mean, yeah, everybody knew that from week 1, and Derrick Henry has 2,000 reasons behind his name why people couldn't do it. So,
but 0 playoff wins.
Don't want to get sidetracked here. but I think especially in the NBA, and this comes back to your question about whether the 3 superstars in Brooklyn are going to be able to share the ball. I think especially even more so in the NBA versus the NFL, because the NFL, you have any given Sunday kind of thing going on. With the NBA, you're playing best of 5, best of 7 series. Talent's going to win out more so than it does in the NFL. I mean, you could always have a game where the worst run defense in the NFL manages to hold Derrick Henry to 40 yards in the NFL. But you aren't going to have a 7-game series where you shut down 3 of the most talented players in the NBA for all 7 games. So I definitely think it's more likely that Brooklyn goes to the finals than Houston wins a playoff series. I think Houston's going to be good. I think they got a good talent there, but definitely more talent in Brooklyn now, so I'd put the odds with them.
I'm the same way. I'll put the odds with Brooklyn, although I'm interested and intrigued about that Houston team, and I don't know why, but I am. I think Victor Oladipo needed a fresh start. I think his time in Indiana was wearing thin because he didn't want to be there. He vocalized he didn't want to be there, but he did go all in and say, hey, if I'm here, I'm going to play, and I appreciate him for that. The evolution of Christian Wood has been great so far. John Wall's getting his legs back. It's good to see that. What will Boogie do? How will Boogie perform? Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker, Daniel House. So they got pieces there in Houston with playoff experience, everybody but Christian Wood. From the key guys that I've named, Boogie has playoff experience. Wall has playoff experience. Those guys have some playoff experience there. So if they can get a good matchup, long as it's not the Clippers, the Lakers, maybe Denver, Portland, they match up with Portland. I really don't have a bodyguard Nurkic. It just depends. It really, really depends on the matchup they get and also what seed they get. You get that 8 seed, you got to play the Lakers more than likely, then that's not going to work. You get that 7 seed, you got to play the Clippers. That's dicey. But whoever gets that 3 seed, if they get that 6, who knows? Who knows what they can do with that seed. I'm very intrigued by that team. I want to see how Stephen Silas is going to work with these new pieces that they have now in Houston, with a new piece they have. Another guy that can get you 25 a game and also plays pretty good defense and a great shot maker. in Victor Oladipo, and then you lose Harden. So they got rid of that cancer. They got that monkey off their back there in Houston. I'm happy for Harden. Happy he got what he wanted. I'm happy Houston got what they wanted. So I'm happy for both teams. And I might be the oddball out on that, but I am. I'm happy for both teams. So
I got one more analogy for you. You know, so all you got to do is to stop the Bucks is stop Giannis. I mean, back in the 90s, the greatest player to ever step foot on a basketball court, it was well known that all you had to do to beat the Bulls was stop Jordan. He had 6 rings, showing people that that wasn't the case. So, I mean, knowing what you have to do to stop a team does not translate. Because, I mean, obviously to beat the Bulls in the 90s with Jordan, all you had to do was stop Jordan. It's not like playing the Lakers now where if you stop LeBron, you have 4 other people to carry the load for him. So, and yes, I'm full of ricochet shots tonight.
You know what? This era of NBA basketball is different.
Yeah, it is. I mainly just wanted to get that in there for the ricochet shot at Alex and Lakers fans.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. It's different. NBA is more of a business. They're thinking about it as a business perspective now. Like everything is a business. They don't want to hurt their brands. People get traded overnight. Social media is heavy in the NBA. We know what's going on within seconds. Between Woj and Shams, we know what's happening within seconds. Their thumbs get done typing, boom, they send it out. And bam, it's in our reach within seconds. Back in the day, you had to wait probably on ESPN, you know, and oh yeah, Jordan, or Scottie Pippen, or, you know, you had to wait a long time. Now it's instant, and everything is done in such a business matter. And the NBA is a business, and it's a very lucrative business. And these players are making a lot of money to dribble a basketball and play some defense and rebound and dunk. They're getting a lot of money to do that. And brands are salivating. International has played a huge part in the NBA as well. A lot of international companies and things like that love the NBA. And we've ingratiated ourselves, Americans have, into the international game. And they've come over here and they've played and they performed well. So I really like what the NBA is doing business-wise in most aspects. Now, a lot of athletes are protecting their brands and things like that. So we'll just see how it goes from there. All right, fellas, any last thoughts before we sign off? Any crazy thoughts? I don't care what it is. It could be about your Packers. Spicy potato.
You're talking about the how instant we get everything. Did you see the Pat McAfee show interview with who's the big NFL guy? I'm drawing a blank on his name now.
Jarvis Landry?
No,
Ian Rappaport?
Yeah, Rappaport was on the McAfee show, and he was like mid-interview, and he reaches down. I can't remember which coach it was that just got fired, but it was when a coach got fired. And he's like mid-answering a question, and he picks up his phone, looks at it, looks at the camera, and says, "I gotta go," and hit exit. It was comedy.
I saw that.
So
when was the NBA air on Nick? That's interesting. That was very interesting. I saw that too. And it's like Woj takes out his earpiece when he's on ESPN, and he's just kind of like, you know what I mean? He has to get his information out. Alex, that's a good question because the NFL had killer ratings doing on Nickelodeon. It got the kids involved. My mentor was actually the one that put that together. Shout out to you, Blake. He works for the NFL office in New York. And I had just talked to him on Friday, and he told me about the Nickelodeon idea. So I was like, oh, that's great. But I already knew the game was going to be on Nickelodeon, but I didn't know it was going to be that big of a hit. So the next time I talk to him next Friday, then I'll say congratulations to him.
Yeah, and also gave Mitch Trubisky MVP, Nick's most valuable player. Definitely the highlight of the Bears right there. Also, Jimmy Graham got a sick grab. Wish he would have done that in Green Bay.
And as far as seeing the Bears with the graphics, I had to rely on Twitter for that because I did not have Nickelodeon available to watch. So I had to watch CBS and watch Twitter for the Nickelodeon stuff. But everything I've heard about it, I thought they did a really good job. It seems like most of the people that were upset about it were upset because they had young Sheldon explaining what a false start was. And it's just like, dude, it's a show for kids. Why are you mad about this? If you don't want to listen to the explanation of what a false start is, put CBS on. Like, that's a perfectly valid thing to have going on a broadcast geared for kids. So
I would love that to happen. Trubisky signing 5-year, $120 million. That's a match made in heaven.
Alex got insight.
If they sign Trubisky to a 5-year deal, I might sign off on the NFL for a while.
Yeah, you could always come on. You could always come on the Packers wagon. We're always open.
I will never jump on the Packers wagon as long as Aaron Rodgers is quarterback.
Ooh.
I hate that guy with a passion. I'm not going to slander his talent by any means because I'm not an idiot, and I can be unbiased enough to say he is a great quarterback, one of the greatest currently in the NFL, and he does a very good job, and he's a great player. I just don't like him. So,
would you hop on Amber's Cowboys?
Nope.
Oh, goodness, Cowboys.
No, I would straight up go back to the Hawkeyes, like, exclusively.
Oh.
Dude, no, I'm not mad that I didn't get a discount double check. I'm mad that the NFL refs give Rodgers the Rodgers rate. That's what I'm mad about. The Rodgers rate that's in the NFL rule book. That's part of what irritates me.
And it is sky high. It is what it is. Those quarterbacks get certain treatment. Certain quarterbacks get certain treatment. I mean, it's been seen in the NFL. I can't deny that. I'm a huge Brady fan, but Brady gets special treatment. Spicy Queso, I know you know that Rodgers gets special treatment at times. Yes or no?
There has been at times. I remember Week 10 versus the Panthers last year. A slight shove of the end zone. Next thing I see is a flag and Rodgers catches it. I was like, oh, was it a terrible call? You bet it was. But give me that 15 yards. I'll take it. There are definitely some times where I'm just like, wow. I mean, those teams are going to be livid. But hey, 15 yards is 15 yards. I'll take it.
I'll take it too. And I remember when Cam slid one time and he got smacked in his head and they didn't call a personal foul. He's playing for the Panthers. And I was like, what? And Cam was like, he hit me in the head. And they're looking at him like, you're 230. Like, absorb the hit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, absorb it. Like, the rest showed him no love. And I was like, dang, Cam. It was a Monday Night Football game too. So,
And if Aaron Rodgers gets a finger laid on his helmet, he gets a flag.
Oh yeah. Those certain quarterbacks get that special treatment. I am eager to see these quarterbacks go at it this weekend. I'm excited for football this weekend, guys. I really am.
It's going to be a great weekend for football.
It definitely is. I'll be looking forward to Packers Rams. Hopefully we take care of business.
Yeah, and I have nobody to look forward to because my team.
Hey, top 10 pick.
Yeah, and they're gonna make the wrong pick. It's Jerry Jones. Not saying that CeeDee Lamb was the wrong pick, but I probably would have went defense, even though I'm a huge CeeDee Lamb fan. I'm not mad that they got CeeDee Lamb in Dallas. He's from that area. I'm not mad at that at all. But if we would have went defense, I would have been happy as well. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So hopefully they make the right pick. I think Surtain will be off the board before the 10th pick. That's who I want, Diggs and Surtain. It's like, Alabama connection. But, guys, I want to thank you for coming on with me tonight.
Well, just real quick, and then we'll sign off. Alex is actually confused. His insurance agent fucked him. He gave him the Patrick Price instead of the Rodgers rate.
They both have one ring. They might be in the Super Bowl this year. You never know.
Hey, I will say, Garrett, that was pretty clever. I'll give you an air fist bump on that one.
Fist bump to Garrett.
I'm fired. I had a great interview earlier. Probably the best episode we've recorded so far over on the People's XFL, and I'm just on a roll. So
that's right, Alex. You can take your Corvette to the Chiefs.
Oh, good. You guys and these TikToks. You know what?
Corvette to the Chiefs.
Corvette. Okay, guys, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Is that what it is? Like,
Yes.
I don't even know. I have a TikTok account and I don't know what Corvette is.
Corvette. You know, hey, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. The Corvette will be here when you pack it.
When, Alex? Because I'd rather take it in the Super Bowl than this Saturday because I'd like to see my team go far.
Okay. Alex, heartbreaking loss for your Pittsburgh Steelers. We've talked about that in the chat. Condolences to you, Alex, because you look like you might be in rebuild mode if Ben decides to hang them up. So, Alex, I'm here for you. Still got Mike Tomlin, though. Still got a great defense.
Yeah, that makes my heart break a little bit. I've been really annoyed on Alex's behalf on all the Big Ben slander going around this week. It's like, yeah, I understand the guy had a bad game, but look at what he's done. That boy has had himself a career. Put some respect on his name.
2 rings, too. Hey, he's got more than Rodgers, so I mean, got 2 rings. Oh.
Yep. I mean, you could talk about him having a bad game, but put some respect on his name. He's been a hell of a quarterback over there in Pittsburgh. So
number will be retired in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm here for you, Alex. I really am here for you. My computer's about to die. We're going to sign off. Christian became a Rams fan 4 years ago and is trying to say I'm fake. I'm a fake fan. SMH. Alex, you wave your terrible towel, and we love you, Alex. Okay.
Yeah. All love to you.
All love to you, Alex. All right. Before we sign off, let's pay some bills, of course. teespring.com/store/unwrapped. I got ladies first gear. XFL has some gear. Spicy Queso is probably going to be coming with some gear. I think you should get a shirt that says Spicy Queso. Well, you're a Wise Cheese, but I call you Spicy Queso. You guys should go check out some Unwrapped gear. Also, mybookie.ag. Double your first deposit with the code USN100. And sore achy muscles. rxhemp.com/USN. Get 10% off your order. I'm Amber. That's Garrett. That's Spicy Queso, a.k.a. Wise Cheese, a.k.a. Matt. And we are signing off. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.